Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all of the fantasy romance books that I have on my TBR. So last year for Valentine's Day I did a romance recommendations video. I don't feel like I've read enough romance between then and now to do another romance recommendations. So if you're after my romance recommendations, which are more contemporary romances, then I will leave that down below for you to check out. I haven't quite done a fantasy romance recommendations video yet. I am definitely thinking of doing one, so if you're interested, it will come. I just feel like I want to read more fantasy romance first, so that I feel like I can give a comprehensive overview of the genre. Because as of right now, I've read a few. I've read a good few, but I don't feel like I have loads of recommendations because I feel like I've got some favourites, but then there's quite a few that I've read that haven't stuck with me. So anyway, these are some that I have on my TBR. If I could have your advice over which ones I should read first, over any opinions of them, Some of them I'm not too sure how big the series is, so that's a deciding factor as well on when I might start them, because if it's finished or if it's soon to be finished, then that's more of a prompt for me to pick it up, as opposed to not knowing if it's going to be a gigantic series. So I have Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series. I know that this is a quartet, with the fourth book coming out in May, soon. So soon for this one. So this is a King Midas retelling, so everything that he touched turns gold, so she is gold touch, so everything about her is golden, and she is his prisoner, or I think more like a pet that he saved her many years ago. So there's a very odd dynamic between them. I feel like with this series, from what people say, is that the first book, you're not too sure where it's going, and then there's a twist towards the end, and then that sets up for the rest of the series, and it's not quite what you would assume from a fantasy romance. At least that's what I've got from the people that I've heard speaking about this. I'm definitely very intrigued about this. I had heard loads of positive reviews, and now I've had a few more mixed reviews, and I'm a bit nervous, but I'm intrigued to see where I'd fall with this one. I have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This I think is a Red Riding Hood, Beauty and the Beast type retelling. I think the tagline is the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. The second daughter in this kingdom is always sacrificed to the forest and the wolf in order to save the kingdom. The legend of this wolf is a lie, and that he's actually a man, and that I guess there's going to be some fantasy and some romance there between the second daughter and the wolf. So I believe this is a duology, but I'm not too sure. I know that the second book is coming out this year. Whether that's the conclusion, I'm not too sure. And I think that the second book is following the first sister, the one that was for the throne. But I'm definitely intrigued to pick this up. I think I'm really gonna like this one. I feel like it's got a lot of elements that I would really, really enjoy. I then have A Promise of Fire, The Kingmaker Chronicles by Amanda Boucher. I believe this is a completed trilogy, and in this it's set in a kingdom where the icy north is ruled by a glacial queen. Now rebellion is stirring in the magic pool south, where the first time in memory a warlord has succeeded in uniting the tribal nations. And we're following a main character, Kat, who is a circus performer who I believe has more magic than she is letting on, and at some point she gets captured by the southern warlord, where she's still trying to hide the extent of her powers. I'm guessing the romance is going to be between her and him, but I'm not too sure whether fantasy is going to go from there. Wars between people, I would assume, and our heroine stuck in the middle. But I don't know, have I heard that much about this? I don't think I've heard that much about this. So if you've read this, let me know if your thoughts on it, if you liked it or not, or how the trilogy progresses, if it's a good all-around trilogy, or thoughts on this, please. Then I have Daughter of the Blood by Anne Bishop. Now I'm a bit hesitant because I'm not sure if this is fantasy romance. I think someone has told me before that this isn't exactly fantasy romance. I think it's a fantasy with some romantic subplots that might get a bit more romance as the series goes on, and that it would be remiss of me to go into it thinking that it's a fantasy romance. I'm also unsure how many books are in this, because this says the Black Jewels trilogy, but I'm sure when I've looked this up there's a lot of books, a lot of books. So maybe it's one of those series where there's a trilogy and then there's extended world after that. There's a lot I don't know about Anne Bishop. I've been intrigued about her other series as well, like the Written in Red one, and that maybe it falls within that same thing, that there's like a romance blossoming over the whole series and not so much in the first book. For years, the realm of Tyrell has fallen into corruption as the powerful queens who rule it have turned to cruelty, but there is hope. A prophetic vision has revealed the coming of a queen more powerful than any other, and once the foundations of her power are in place, she will emerge from the darkness bringing freedom, for she is the living myth. Dreams may flesh, not just any witch. So I don't feel like that synopsis has really told me anything about this book. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, but I'm not too sure like what I'm getting myself into by reading this. If anyone's read this, let me know. I guess same for Song of Blood and Stone by L. Penelope. This I picked up because Beautifully Bookish Bethany mentioned it, and I think the World Toppers fantasy romance video. Again, I don't know how many books are in this series. Is it 5? Maybe? I don't know, 4, 3, 4, 5? So L. Penelope's Song of Blood and Stone is a treacherous, thrilling, epic fantasy about an outcast drawn into a war between two powerful rulers. So it seems like quite a heavy fantasy romance. I mean, just based on what the blurb is saying, like it's quite an extensive blurb, but it seems to be that there are like two kingdoms and the magical veil that has kept them at peace, it's cracking, and you are following our characters Jack and Jasminda as they try to keep this wall mantle from falling. Overall, I feel like I've heard like quite mixed things about it, but I think from what Bethany was saying, she was like the first book is a bit bizarre and then it sets up for a lot of things in the rest of the series. I then have A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. This, again, I don't know how many books is this. How many books is this? Is it am I like in for the long haul, or is this going to be finished soon? I don't know. This I've heard, Life as Monet has talked about this book a lot. Like I got it last year and I was like really intrigued by it, and then I watched Life as Monet's reading blog where she was reading this and absolutely gushing about it. I was like, oh, I own this book. Oh, maybe this needs to be bumped up my TBR. Okay, because she loves this. I think this is like her favourite fantasy romance, and what I believe is that you're following this it's like a portal fantasy in a way, that you're following a character from our own world who's like a thief in our world, and she gets transported to this fantasy kingdom world where she is suddenly in the place of this person that's assassinated the king and queen, and that she doesn't know quite what's happened because she's just suddenly in this position. And then the person that she was meant to marry like the prince, and now he hates her because she's like killed his parents, and which all just sounds very, very dramatic. And she's like, but it wasn't me, it was just someone who looks like me, and now I'm in this place because I look the exact same. So it all sounds very dramatic, like very dramatic, and I'm very intrigued by that. She said that she really liked the balance between the elements of like the balance between like the fantasy and the romance, and that it was really well done. So I'm very intrigued. Like if this is like a duology or a trilogy, I'll be definitely very keen to pick this up sooner rather than later. I'm just like hesitant because I don't know how many books this is going to be. Like if this is going to be like a 5, 6, I don't know however many book series, then I'm more like keen to hold off, because I know that with fantasy romance it's better for me to like binge it and like read them more back to back. But if this is going to be complete soon, then I definitely want to read this soon, because the way Monet has been telling me on this, I'm like, Monet, please, like you're tempting me so much. Okay, and then the final one that I own is Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the spin-off series of From Blood and Ash. So I really enjoyed From Blood and Ash, and the second book, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I wasn't so much of a fan of Crown of Gilded Bones. That book doesn't exist. Does exist, but don't want it to. It needed editing. But this is the first in the spin-off, so this is set many years in the past, following like the history of the From Blood and Ash world and like the beginnings of it. So the setup, the lore of it. So the lore that we're discovering in those books, that's what's explored here. And so they are linked. This is the prequel, and I think you do have to like read them in tandem. So I can't read the next From Blood and Ash book without reading this. I'm a bit nervous because I didn't enjoy Crown of Gilded Bones, but I do want to continue on in this world. I do want to keep trying with it because I love From Blood and Ash. I found that book so addictive, so enjoyable. It was just so like, it was so addictive. I think I've generally heard pretty positive things about this. I don't know that many people that have read it. I think quite a few of us didn't enjoy Crown of Gilded Bones. We just didn't, because it was bad. It was bad. So I think a lot of us that would have read this haven't, because we didn't like that book. But I know that Ali at Kirsty Reads, she did read this and she did really like it. So that gives me hope. That gives me hope. I think my plan with this is to delay a little bit. So I'm going to wait until there's a few more releases that have come out within this world, and then I'll like go on a bit of a binge, or like I'll read quite a few in a row. I feel like that's going to be a better experience for me with this, instead of having to wait and get like the delay. I don't want the delay. I feel like it's going to be better if just everything's out, and then I can also see what the general consensus is for the published works. So those are, oh, that's all going to fall and tumble. So those are some of the fantasy romance books that I have on my TBR. Please let me know which books I should like prioritize, if you have any opinions on them, and yeah, just let me know. I feel like I've been reading a lot of epic fantasy, which is great. I love epic fantasy, but I feel like I am in need now for some fantasy romance, or like a change of pace. I need a change of pace. I've been reading a lot of very long books. Like for the past few months, I've been reading very long books. Like, what is this? Can I just stop reading like 600, 700, 800 page books? Like, please, I need a break. But then my brain's like, oh, look, another 800 page book. Let's go read it. So I feel like it's time that I change up the pace and read some fantasy romance. If you have a preference of which ones I should start or read, then please let me know. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye.